All right, peace and blessings, and welcome to another episode of the Author Spotlight Self-Publishing 30 Days podcast. I am your host, Rob YB Youngblood, President of Sales for Self-Publishing 30 Days, and your LinkedIn locksmith. I am excited for this episode because I had to travel all the way to Denver, Colorado to meet this young lady, only to find out that we are connected through the #1 motivational speaker in the world. So Shay Johnson, how you doing today, Shay?
What's up? Yeah, it's such an honor to be here with you, YB. Is it crazy the connection that's there, and it took all that to have this moment?
I know. And we got connected through our common coach, Kendall Ficklin, who's phenomenal in his life, and the fact that he was there and had a chance to speak on your platform. So, but I told you I'm gonna do something that I typically don't do. So for those of you who watch the Author Spotlight or you listen to us, you know I kind of just throw the alley-oops to my guests, but I gotta read her bio because she's so dope. So check this out. So Shay J, Shay J, is changing the narrative to amplify our voices. A certified EricThomas speaker, host, and motivator out of Denver, Colorado. A graduate of the American Musical and Dramatic Academy of New York, she has conducted interviews with everyone from politicians to athletes to local leaders that have been broadcast on the country's largest networks. Her special edition interviews have been game changers, deeming her the interview guru. That's why I'm reading her bio, because she's the interview guru, right? As the founder of CTN Media and minority business Accelerator, she works hard to ensure her actions speak as loudly as her words. Cultivating a career that lifts underrepresented voices, she continues to be a force for her community that her community can trust and depend on. Welcome once again to the Author Spotlight. So the purpose of this interview is really to increase the visibility, credibility, and profitability of authors. I saw that you had your book that had come out. I said, oh, I got an excuse now to get her out on my podcast. So definitely wanted to give you the opportunity. So we're gonna talk about the book in a minute. But tell us where, I know New York was mentioned, but tell us where you're from and tell us a little bit about your background, Shay.
Absolutely. What's up, y'all? I go by Shay J out here most of the time when I'm speaking. I'm from Denver, Colorado. Graduated college in New York City. I always say Denver was where I was born, but New York absolutely made me. When you get there and you go to performing arts college, it is a eye-opening experience, to say the least. I really grew up with some amazing performers. And so I'm just blessed to do what I love doing, and it's always been being a creator and creating spaces for people that look like me and feel like me to get their stories told, to really be a part of changing the narratives, cultivating the narrative, challenging the narrative. I'm all about talking to those stories that really don't get the light, right? And so it's just a blessing to be able to sit down with people and do interviews, as well as create ventures that really help Black people shine in their greatness. And people know I have a special place for women. So I like to do a lot of speaking as well for women and motivating and conferences and things of that such. So I'm always on the move and I'm always doing it for the culture in some aspect or another. Work for a Black journalist company right here in Denver, Colorado. And so it's great to work with Brother Jeff. He's a community activist and we're always on the scenes and capturing the real things in real time.
I love that. And your energy is so contagious. You helped me to dispel a myth that I had about Denver, Colorado, right? I was like, okay, probably only like a handful of Black people up in that joint. But there's a lot of brothers and sisters out there in Denver. Like y'all got a nice little space going on. Talk a little bit about
surprise.
Talk a little bit about that atmosphere, right? So the work that you do is actually amplifying voices of Black and brown professionals. Talk a little bit about the work that you've done in that space and how it relates to what your book is about.
Absolutely. So in this space, I really realized when I came back home to Denver, Colorado, there was a lack of ownership. There was a lack of Black voices that were really I think in their sweet spot, but able to articulate what that looks like and articulate what their business was. But then I seen this scaling of entrepreneurship. So I really started to put my thing to my voice to how do I help people that have a story, have a mission, have a purpose? How do I connect them with another network of people? And so within that, we created things. I worked with a couple of partners and created things like the Black Boss Summit that brings entrepreneurs together from all different walks of life. I also have done different events like Women Evolve with Sarah Jakes Roberts. That's more in the Christian arena, and that brings those people together as well. And so I've always just been a part of how do I have impactful panels? How do I have pitch contests? I did something called a Black Pitch Contest where I brought different entrepreneurs together and helped get them funding for their business as their business is thriving. And so it's always been about how do I help people where they're at, shine a light on them, and then encourage them to go fully into their purpose. And so it's crazy when I was thinking about writing my first book, I never thought it was going to be this. And, in your mind, you have this extravagant, you want to talk about your life story and how your aha moments and all these amazing things. But this one was really simplistic. I started out in a really simplistic place. When 2020 hit, I realized how many people hadn't been alone with themselves, hadn't sat quietly with themselves, had no real self-identity or self-worth outside of coming and going and coming and going. And so when there was a moment of stillness, there was a lot of people that were just extremely lost. And so I started writing down things that I was grateful for, gratitudes, and then affirmations that helped me scale my life. And so as I was looking at these affirmations, I had about 200 affirmations. And I remember sitting with a group of ladies, some of my closest friends, and talking to them about some of these affirmations. And they were like, man, these were really good. Which ones do you think are your top ones? I was like, I never thought about that. So I started going through them and starring the ones. And then I made that into a 12 affirmations to shift your life in 1 year, and made it into a workbook that has some workbook pieces, some journaling pieces, affirmation pieces. And so I really pinpointed these 12 affirmations, like this is where the pivot happened. This is where the shift happened. This was the mindset met with the manifestation, and things actually took place. And so I'm just proud to say, and when I look at my life from 1 year to the next, I always can see that growth. And so I just wanted to share that with the world. Like, how can we start getting really intentional about what we're asking for, what we're praying for, what we're manifesting on, the life that we create, because we're responsible for wherever we're at in life. And I really want to be a help to make sure that people are getting to that next space and living on purpose.
I love that. And so what made you think that you could write this book? I mean, so many people talk about becoming authors, but they don't really execute. Obviously, we're connected to the #1 executor in the world. But how,
exactly.
what made you even think that, listen, I can do that?
Oh, that's a great question. I think being connected to a phenomenal coach and somebody like an EricThomas, a Kendall Ficklin, being connected to these people always let you know that there are people that are doing it, right? And so then you have to make a decision. Am I going to be somebody that talks about it or somebody that actually does it? And when I really realized the impact I was having when I was going out and speaking and going out and doing these things and giving tools, for the last 2 years before that, I was touring high schools and giving them whole, how can you make it? You are somebody, you will succeed, giving them mantras to live by and affirmations. And so I understood the impact. And so I said, now, if I really created a tool for people, then how much more impact can I make? And so I think more so than knowing I could write the book, knowing that people needed it was more of the push for me. And then I really put myself on a timeline and was like, yo, you have to get it done before then, or you can't do this. And it was like that discipline that makes you just do it, because I could find every excuse not to do it, every excuse. And so I was like, and I think the other part is what we don't talk about. We're afraid it's not going to be successful, right? So then I had to get in a space to say, once you get it out your system and do it once, you're going to do it better the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time. And so now I'm just encouraged to repackage it and do it better, because I did it. And so I'm excited about what the next book looks like, because simply I did it.
Well, listen, you said you had 200 something affirmations. So I could see you could put a book out every single year until kingdom come. Like you got some of the gems. So that's a good segue to what were some of the challenges that you had to overcome. So you mentioned, that self-doubt that would creep in. You mentioned putting yourself on a timetable. Were there any other challenges that you had to overcome either while writing the book or as a result of writing the book?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I think the main challenge was feeling worthy enough to give this information to people, right? You know that everybody has a story. You know that everybody can have some moments of connection, and anybody could write a book if they wanted to. Mm-hmm. And so feeling like that I was worthy enough to present this to people, and that the work was worthy enough for people to, accept it and want to see it. And that was a huge challenge because I knew that these things were shifting my life. And then that too, presenting my life to people and saying like, this is what happened. This is what that shift was. And then deciding like how personal did I want to get? How much did I not want to do? And then literally a lot of these affirmations I was still working through as I was presenting them to people. And so, you're this work in progress and a masterpiece all at once. So juggling what that was like, because people that are close to you are like, well, dang, you think your life's that perfect? And you're like, no, but I see the shift and I see the things happening. And so having to be honest with all those different places in myself, I think was a huge moment of accountability and discipline. It was a lot. It was a lot to really say like, no, you're doing this and it only gets better from here.
Yeah, that's good. So for that person that might be new to this whole concept of affirmations, right? Like what is an affirmation and how powerful is the process of saying affirmations?
Man, an affirmation is anything that you're affirming, right? You're affirming something that you're putting out there. And some people call it mantras or affirmations. And I believe in the power of the tongue, the power of your thoughts. All those things start to manifest. So we have to be careful what we speak. What we speak, we give life to. And so that's all you're really doing is giving life to something. And the most powerful word you can ever say is I am. And whatever you put after that, you're giving life to it. Yes. So you got to decide what comes after your I am. What do you want to give life to? And I tell people so many times we don't realize that we've manifested the exact life we've spoken upon, right? If you say, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want to be late, I don't want to be late, I don't want to be late, you're going to be late because all you keep saying is late, late, late. Your brain hears that, doesn't hear the don't part. So what about if you get intentional and say, I'm going to be on time. Today, I'm going to have a great day. I am going to give light. I'm going to be happy. What if you start to say, I am great. I am worthy. I am manifesting healthy relationships. What if you start to say that instead of everything you didn't want? You have the opportunity now to cultivate that life, cultivate whatever it is that you really want. Yeah. And so that's the power of an affirmation. It's simply affirming what it is that you want, the lifestyle that you want, the words you want to live by. We take responsibility in those moments.
Yeah, I love that. So Shay, as we begin to land the plane, tell us who is this book for? Like is it for women? Is it for men? Like who is this book for?
I love that. That's a great question. And this is why I'm doing the sequel to this. But this book right here is for, I'm going to say this one is really geared towards the entrepreneur that is in a pivot, is in a shifting moment, is in a mindset lamp. Maybe they haven't quite left the 9-to-5 yet. It's that person in that space that's looking to transition. This is where you start. This is a good space because in this book, it's just really about cultivating the basic mindset, saying you're enough, saying you're worthy, saying that you are, surrounded by people that are going to uplift your vision, saying that you're attracting the perfect type of relationships in all parts of your life. This is just setting that mindset for that pivot and that shift. And so I say, if you're in that sweet spot in your life, whether it's professional or personal life, and you're in that sweet spot where you're just saying, I'm ready for a pivot. And I know it starts with my mind shift, but I need a couple gentle reminders. This is for you. It's not too heavy. It's light enough for anybody to get it. I even have some students that have read this because of where they're at. They're going student athletes, especially. They're trying to train their minds. So they're like, hey, I need a couple things to remind myself when I get up and I look in the mirror so I can affirm this life I'm looking for. And so that's what this book is for. And the ones after this, I'm excited because I feel like I'm going to get a little bit more in depth and say, this one's for you, for my boss chicks over here. This one's for, my grieving parents. This one's for my working man. This is for, and I want to start giving people that because there's so many affirmations out there to really help shift our lives.
The beautiful thing about what you're saying is that you have a resource for all types of people. And so the resource, the common thread is that it's an affirmation. It's a resource to help uplift folks, but you can tailor it to a specific demographic of people. I love that. So as we begin to land the plane, tell us, how can people get their hands on it? Give us the title once again of the book, and how can people get their hands on a copy?
Right. The book is self-explanatory because it's called 12 Affirmations to Shift Your Life in 1 Year, by me, your girl, Shay J. And I put my favorite quote on there, and it says, the best project you'll ever work on is you. I absolutely mean that. Go to www.iamshayj.com and grab your copy. It's right there at my website, www.iamshayj.com, and that's SHAYJ.com.
I love that. Listen, you all need to go out and grab 12 copies. Go get you 12 copies, right? 1 copy per month that you give away, especially if you're a speaker. Especially if you're a speaker. Listen, we're giving you some game right now. We're giving you some game right now, you know, and talk to your accountant, but that it could possibly be a write-off, all right? So possibly be a write-off. Go talk to your accountant. But any last words, any last words, anything that's on your heart that you want to share, whether it's to other authors, other speakers, coaches, like anything that's on your heart that you'd like to share as we wrap up.
Man, YB, thank you for all that you're doing in connecting authors, speakers. This is so important, you know, as we're moving forward. And I think for me, it's just, let's all be extremely intentional with our gifts, because we all have a gift for a reason. So get that word out there that you might have, that book that you need to write, that course that you may need to create, you know, that keynote speech that you've been like putting off. Get on top of it and be intentional about using your gift, because we don't know when our day or time is going to be called. And so it's our job, it's our duty. We were created to be creators. And so just be intentional about that. And remember, the best project you'll work on is you. So don't forget to be intentional about working on you first. You cannot pour for an empty cup. So start with yourself.
I love that. Listen, make sure you all go out, support Shay J. Tell her that you heard about her here on the Author Spotlight Self-Publishing 30 Days podcast. I'm your host, Rob YB Youngblood, your LinkedIn locksmith. I want you to remember, be encouraged, be blessed, but be faithful over the gift that you've been given. Why? Because your gift will make room for you, and it will allow you to make a significant impact like Shay J's doing. We'll see you on the next episode of the Author Spotlight. Peace.
Peace and love, fam.